I had to put a pop filter on the microphone to cover up the zit on my face. Didn't want to gross anybody out. In this video, I'm going to talk about 5 new features that were introduced with DaVinci Resolve 17 that are maybe smaller features and are easy to overlook, but one or more of them might just be the thing you're looking for to improve your workflow or improve your quality of life or the ease of use when you're working in DaVinci Resolve. So let's not waste any time and just jump on into DaVinci Resolve, and I'll show you 5 new features that you might be missing. The first feature I want to touch on is really just a group of features that makes navigating the timeline easier using the scroll wheel on your mouse. The first one is the ability to expand and contract the height of both video and audio tracks. To expand the video track height, just hover your mouse over the video track layers, hold down the Shift key, and just scroll your mouse wheel, and you can increase or decrease the height of all the video tracks. If you want to do the audio, just hover down where the audio tracks are and do the same thing. Another way to do it is if you want to adjust them individually, you can just hover your mouse over the names of all of the different tracks and you can drag them out on an individual basis. All right, next one is to advance the timeline. You can just hold down Control on a PC or Command on a Mac and then scroll your mouse wheel forward and back to move forward and back on your timeline. Another way you can do this, and this has been around for a long time, but if you didn't know, if you do have a middle mouse button, if you click and hold the middle mouse button and then just drag your mouse left and right, you can also move around your timeline that way. So again, different options for doing the same thing. The last thing is to zoom in and out of your timeline. If you hold down Alt on a PC or Option on a Mac and then scroll your scroll wheel, it will zoom in where your playhead is. Now this feature's actually been in DaVinci Resolve for a while, but I think the new thing, they've given you the option to, if you come up here to View, hit View, and then about midway down, if you click this zoom around mouse pointer, instead of zooming in where your playhead is, now it'll zoom in wherever your mouse is. It might be handy to do it with zooming in with wherever the playhead is sometimes, and it might be super handy to zoom in where your mouse is. Now you have the option to decide based on the situation. The next feature falls into the what the hell took them so long category. This is something you've been able to do a long time in something like Premiere Pro. It's the ability to make really fine-tuned adjustments to any of the parameters in your inspector by hitting the up and down arrows on your keyboard. So if you go into any parameter on your inspector and then double click where the numerical values are, and then just move the cursor to whatever decimal point you want to adjust. If you hit up on your keyboard, it will increase by increments of 1. So you could put that in the whole number spot and zoom in by 1 increment at a time, or by tenths, or by hundredths, or by thousandths. Just a really great way to make minute fine-tuned adjustments. Okay, next feature, this is really cool. You can actually export an entire timeline into a completely new project. Why would you want to do that? One reason that I could think of is if you have a sequence that you can imagine wanting to use in future projects. Say you built a cool intro sequence or some sort of B-roll segment, you can just import that entire sequence. So that way in the new project, you can make any more edits and changes to that sequence just as you would in the original sequence. And this is super easy to do. If you say for whatever reason, like I just wanted to take from this point to this point, say that was one sequence, I could just highlight that whole section of this timeline and just Control C or Command C on a Mac, create a new timeline, and then come into this new timeline and Control or Command V and just paste that section. And now if I wanted to export this, just come up into your media pool, right click on that timeline, hover over to where it says timelines, and then come down where it says export, and then just click on this top option. It's going to open up your Finder so you can name it really awesome timeline for later use, and you want to make sure you choose the .drt file extension. That stands for DaVinci Resolve Timeline. Now if you open up a new project or a different project, whatever, in your new project or already existing project, come over to your media pool, right click in the empty space, come down to timelines, and then import, and then select that top option. Again, it's going to open up the Finder. If it doesn't open up automatically to the place where you saved it, you'll just have to navigate to where you saved it, and then you can just click that timeline and then hit open, or just double click it, and it'll bring it in to your project. And you can see it if you come up to the top where you have all of your different timelines in your project. We've got timeline 1, timeline 2, and the one that we just created it's now open. And the next one, and it's kind of along the same lines, is the ability to export a bin of footage or bin of assets or media to different projects. So again, if you've got assets or media that you think you're probably going to utilize across multiple projects, you can just save the bin onto your hard drive and then just import that bin into a new project. And the way you do that is very simple as well. You can just come over into your media pool, really from any page that has a media pool in DaVinci Resolve, which is everything except the Deliver tab. So you just right click on the bin, come down to Export Bin, and then again the same Finder dialog box pops up. Name it and save it to wherever you want to save it, and make sure that the .drb file extension stands for DaVinci Resolve Bin, and you should be good to go. Another really cool thing about this function is if you have made any in and out points on your source footage in your bin, it's going to carry over those in and out points with the bin. So anytime you open it in a new project, it'll have those in and out points made. And we're going to open up a new project or a different project. In your new project, in your media pool, just right click in the empty space in your media pool, come down to Import Bin, select the bin that you created. You can double click it or click it once and then hit the open icon. And there you go. It added it into your list of bins. And again, all of those in and out points come along with it. So keep in mind, this is going to work only as long as your footage stays in the same place. If you move footage off the hard drive where it was when you initially created the bin, Resolve's not obviously going to be able to find where it is. So you need to keep the footage there. The last new feature that we're going to talk about is in the media page here, you have the ability to make adjustments in the inspector to source footage, to source files, just like you can make to footage or files or assets on your timeline. So here we are on our timeline in the edit page. If we open up the inspector, all of these options that we have in the inspector on the edit page now exist in the media page, both video and audio, as well as files. So if you wanted to input metadata, you can do that. So let's go back over to the media page, and you can do it to, say, one clip here. Open up the inspector, and you can see here we've got the options for both the video and audio tracks of this clip, and then the file. Likewise, you can highlight a whole bunch of clips and make the same changes to a whole bunch of clips. The way this can be super useful is if you know you want to make some adjustments, say the aspect ratio of your source clips doesn't match your project, you can go ahead and change the zoom so it'll fill the screen. And you can do that to all of the clips at once. Any change you make here is going to carry over to the edit. So once you start cutting these clips, all of these changes you made in the media page are going to carry over. And then any subsequent changes you make to the clips in the inspector in any of the other pages in DaVinci Resolve will just add on to the changes that you made in the media page. Another way I could see this being useful, if you have a lens with some heavy distortion and you shot, a whole bunch of footage with that same lens, you could just go ahead and make your lens corrections here. If you wanted to throw some equalization onto the clips from here, you could do that as well. And the other thing too is if you shoot in any RAW format, whether that's Cinema DNG, Blackmagic RAW, or Redcode RAW, whatever the case is, you can actually make the RAW adjustments here too. So if we go over to Image, you can see here we have all of those raw adjustments that previously were only available on the color tab. As I edited this video, I realized I forgot to mention that if you make any changes to the source clips in the inspector in the media page, like I showed you in that last tip, and you want to export that bin to use in later projects, all of those changes will come along with the clips in the exported bin. Hopefully that makes sense. Well, that's it. I hope that was helpful. I hope you learned something new about DaVinci Resolve 17. If that's the case, feel free to like the video. If you hated the video for whatever reason, maybe you just don't like my zit or you don't like DaVinci Resolve at all, just go ahead and hit the dislike button twice. If you want to see more videos like this, maybe some more DaVinci Resolve tutorials or whatever, something about video production or content creation, maybe subscribe. That would be super duper. Otherwise, I'll just keep making videos and maybe I'll see you in another one. Appreciate it. Thanks for watching.